Chapter 20, Self-Forgiveness. I want to end this book about venturing into the unknown, leaning into the nothingness, where you go off into do something that has never been done before, at least for you. Maybe it's been done many times before, like parenting, like driving a car for the first time. But whenever you do something and you try something that has an unknown probability for you, often the alternatives are unknown, and you're trading off what you know today for something that is different, and people don't quite understand, and you don't quite understand what it is. You don't know how much you should actually invest in this future. You don't know what the alternatives are. You don't even know if they're good or bad. But whenever you do that, inevitably, you get a whole host of negative emotions and feelings and desires. And when you look back, you'll question about why you actually did it. You'll think that what you did was pathetic, stupid, silly. All of those things are very real. And when you do it, you may get the odd moment where things work out for you. And you could say, this was a good choice. Uniformly, something wonderful happened. You did something that was really strange and ambiguous, and you became a superstar. Unfortunately, most of the time that doesn't happen to us. So when you do these things where you're venturing off in the unknown, I want you to practice as much as you possibly can self-forgiveness. Think about whenever you start pondering about what you did in the past and you look at where you should go and you think, I shouldn't have done that. That was a problem. Why did I ever pursue that thing? I want you to say and think about how you didn't know. And you will never know. In the number of times that you do something, you learn how to drive, for example, and you're excited and you're 18 years old, you learn how to drive, and you get in an accident and you hurt yourself. The number of times that that story is played out is actually spectacularly large. But I want you to think about all of the number of times that you actually venture. We all venture in our lives. We all go into something that is nothing, that we don't understand, and it feels not great. I want you to look at those moments and say, I'm proud of the fact that I actually tried it. I'm proud of the fact that I was the one person that was okay with getting up and doing this. I'm proud of the fact that it was scary and I stepped out and I did it. Now, some of us would call this courage of doing something. Some of us will call it this was a stupid, silly idea and it was the wrong choice, the wrong thing. So the fact is, we never know. We can't decide on what is going to happen by looking at the future. And I know that sounds really strange to think about this, but you can't see what the future is going to be. The only way that you understand the future is when you can look at it when it's in the past. I want you to look at all of these moments where you can venture and you could try and you can go off into the nothingness and just be okay with the fact that you had the chance. You tried when nobody else could, and you pursued it, and maybe it worked out, maybe it didn't work out, but you pursued it. You were that one person that actually chose to venture off into the nothingness and try. I know that this is a really big thing for all of us to internalize. That is the challenging part of it, is that you don't know when it's right. You don't know any of the answers, and you'll never know what is the best alternatives in the future. And I know that there's all sorts of toys and all sorts of tools that people talk about to reduce this uncertainty that you feel, this ambiguity that you experience. Tools like science, tools like experiments. But even when you perform those well, ask any scientist or researcher, you'll realize that you actually didn't perform it as well as you could have. And you'll realize that it is uncertain and ambiguous about how to actually do the right thing at the right time. Ask any scientist and researcher, and they will tell you that they made a lot of mistakes, that their experiment didn't work out as planned, that everything about it probably should be thrown out. If you were to ask any builder that builds houses, anybody that works in construction, anybody that does design for the first time, they will say that there is a, any number of mistakes and problems with anything that they actually built. And it's your job to realize the imperfections, realize that there is nothing perfect about venturing off of the unknown and going off into the nothingness and leaning into it. But the only thing that you could do is accept yourself for actually doing it and being proud of the fact that you tried when nobody else could. So I think that's where I want to leave this. Just remember to be proud. Remember that you tried when it was scary. Remember that despite the fact that you could do everything right, it will probably never be right. And just keep trying every day. Keep pursuing, venturing off into the unknownness, no matter what it is. Whether it's our own death, whether it's having a new child, whether it's creating a new career for yourself, whether it's starting a new hobby, all of these things are moments where we try something that we don't know will actually happen. And all of these moments are scary. All of these moments, you feel like you should do this better. But I want you to remember that what you're doing is perfectly fine. And however you're actually doing it, it's probably the right way for you. Take those steps, venture, be scared, and see what happens. Likely will be a negative experience that you'll look back and say, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But at least you tried.